All right. Let's see. Are we live? I think we're live. How's everybody doing today? Where are you coming in from? Oh, look at this. Glenn is going to be my moderator today. Thank you for being here, Glenn. I didn't even have to remind you. Amazing. I'm so excited. Jack is here. Hi, Jack. High expectations for this one. Richard says hello. Glenn says good day. Been looking forward to it, says Jaden. All right, Ebor says, eh. When I asked, is everyone ready for archaeology news? Thanks, Ebor. I really appreciate it. Well, anyway. Hello, Doc, says Glenn. Hello there. How are you this fine day? It's a hot one here in Florida. Well, 80s, you know. Courtney's here. Michael's here. Excellent. Sharon's calling in from California. Not calling in, but coming in from California. Anyone here from out of the USA? Always love to get people from around the world interested in this kind of stuff. Ah, okay. All right. We've got the UK, Egypt, somebody from Giza. All right. Look at it. People are coming in from Egypt to find out what's going on in Egypt. I do have a couple of things to talk about from Egypt today. You probably can guess what one of them might be. Canada, our new enemy. I'm kidding, of course. Yes, Berlin. All right. Chile. All right. Excellent. Yes, Next Pro. That's exactly what I'm going to be talking about. That's the first thing I'm actually going to be talking about. For those of you who are just here for the first time and you don't know much about this channel, but you want to know about archaeology news, I do this every month. And, yeah, we just go over just the archaeological finds and new ancient historical discoveries from 1 month, and it fills up. We usually go over an hour. And I have to pick out just the ones I think you might be the most interested in. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And when you wonder what I mean by ancient historical discovery, I mean that, you know, archaeological discoveries when you dig up something from the ground. Let me turn off my ringer. But, of course, then it has to be analyzed, right? So then we make ancient historical discoveries after we look at these finds, analyze them, do scientific research and all of that. And then there are new discoveries in that way. So we talk about those as well. And this is just a reminder that, you know, the fact that I have to do this every month shows that ancient history is constantly being updated. The timeline is not set in stone. We don't know many things, and we learn things every month. And it's just great to constantly revise our knowledge, because archaeology and ancient history are progressive fields, meaning they always are updating and progressing in our knowledge. We know so much more than we did even last year. And can you imagine how much more we know than 100 years ago? I mean, it's just unbelievable. So that's why we talk about all this. And it's exciting, right? All right. So to address the elephant in the room, okay? This is something that people have been asking me about constantly. Let me pull up... come on now. Forgot how I did this before. Why is the, this is weird. No, I don't think I want to press that. How do I get back to the studio? This calendar keeps coming up and I don't know what's going on here. But oh, I just gotta... Okay, that's not doing anything. How come, I was just there? What is going on? Huh. Wow. Very weird. Well, hang on a second. All right, I've got the thing right up in front of me, but I can't show you for some reason. And I've done it before, and now I'm trying to get back to the... Oh, here we are. Okay. Man, sorry about that. All right, see, I show you all the warts as well, okay? Here we have an article. You see it? From the Daily Mail, one of the most respected scientific journals. Yeah, you probably heard about it. Scientists who made vast city discovery beneath Egypt's Giza pyramid claim it was built by a long-lost advanced civilization. Now, these scientists who are, this is a group of Italians, who we find out now, they've kind of always, they've been long-time believers in a lost advanced civilization. So they're going into this, of course, trying to prove it, I suppose. But they're using a new scan technology that they use a satellite to scan the Earth, and this technology has been used before, but not for what they're doing. It's been used to do surface surveys, right, to see what's on the surface of the Earth. But they're using it to scan what's underground, and quite a distance underground as well. And they acknowledge that this is not something that has really been done at all before. But the big story is they claim to have found all kinds of chambers underground beneath the Khafre pyramid at Giza. And you can see here some images they shared. Now, they did not publish this in any peer-reviewed scientific journal or anything like that. They just announced it to the press. They had a couple of press conferences, as I recall, in Italian, talking about this. And they did scans, and they say that there are these huge cylindrical structures, 8 of them, beneath the pyramid that go down to these blocks. Here you can see the blocks underneath that are gigantic, by the way. But here you can see an example, at least, of some of the scans. So you might be wondering, how do they go from that to this? Well, there's a lot of interpretation that's going on here, of course. Now, from what I understand from the press conferences, it's really out there. So this is something that, interestingly, it's not just mainstream historians and archaeologists who are skeptical of this, but also even some alternative history people who already believe in a long-lost civilization are skeptical of this. So that's why people are a little I'm not so sure, especially because they haven't even published it yet. So whenever anyone goes to the press before they publish on it, that's a red flag, because they're trying to make a name for themselves, right? It's not like, well, we're just scientists and we're just trying to do our research. They're trying to make a big splash. There's probably a book coming down the pike. Who knows, I got some donations. Thank you, Dully. I appreciate it very much. What are the best ways to help fund and progress new archaeological digs and projects, in your opinion, especially for everyday people? You know what? It's very rare to have, public funding, where you can do, have people donate or whatever. They usually have to apply to various nonprofit organizations and things like that to get funding, or the university, they'll have funds for that sometimes too. MR, thank you also for your donation. Appreciate that. So the short answer is, Dully, I don't know of many places that do that, and it would be basically case by case, whatever the project might be. Now, there may be some out there that I don't know about, but I don't really know of ways to do this. Now, there is something you can do. There are archaeological nonprofits, or not just archaeological nonprofits, but nonprofits, yeah, I guess you could say nonprofits that specialize in funding archaeology, and you can go directly to them. So, for example, if you, this is over on my Patreon page, but if you become a patron of the channel, you will see that I have up there that a certain amount that I get each year is going to go to an organization in Iraq that funds archaeology there. And there are other organizations like that. Archaeological Survey of India, they need money. People like that, organizations like that, you can donate to. They all have different ways of doing it, but that's the short answer anyway. Yeah. Oh, look at all these comments here. Red flag after red flag. Yes, that's right. AC Origins was actually a documentary. You're probably in a conversation I don't know about. Biggest, hugest discovery since the Giza power plant. Yeah, maybe this is part of it. Who knows? But it is interesting, and this goes back to what I was talking about in the last live stream. They never talk about the Khafre Pyramid. They're finally talking about the Khafre Pyramid. They always like to talk about the Great Pyramid. By the way, I should have mentioned this. Those researchers did publish a paper a couple of years ago, like 2022, about the other pyramid, as I recall, but nothing yet about the Khafre Pyramid. But they're out there, okay? They're out there. And Egyptologists, as you might expect, are saying, this doesn't look legit. And also the fact, people have mentioned this, there's a water table, very high water table, so there's water underneath the pyramids. You don't have to go very far down to get to the water. Why didn't it pick up any of that? Why didn't it pick up the voids in the pyramid that we already know about? Right? There's a good video over on Ancient Architects channel about all this, and you can get into more detail about it, but there's a lot of unanswered questions about it, so I would remain skeptical about this. All right. So many comments. I can't address them all, but when are you going to take on the land of Chem? I don't know. Maybe sometime in the future. No direct plans for it right now. Didn't we have Mr. Beast going into the Osiris well in the pyramids and much of the close spaces to the pub? Yeah, he recently did a video on that. And they even went into the water I was just telling you about. Consider this. This research team's scans of Khafre's pyramid do not contain the known internal structures. Yeah, that's right, Ava. What are your thoughts on Wally Wallington, the man who shows us how to move 1-ton blocks on an angle by himself? Oh, those are great, those videos. They're pretty old now, but yeah, it does go to show. It doesn't mean that's how they did it, but it shows that it can be done where with just levers and pulleys and contraptions of various sorts, you can move things. You just got to be ingenious. And just because some people can't figure it out themselves doesn't mean it didn't happen. Yeah. When are you going to take me on? Oh. Well, Ancient Vacuum. I don't know. You can get me in the comments, and if I have time, maybe I can engage. You like my Troy coffee cup? Yeah. My coffee always gets cold when I do live streams because I always forget to drink. All right, let's look at another one. Now, we're going to look at some actual archaeological discoveries. Does that sound good? Okay. Archaeologists discover ancient irrigation network in Mesopotamia. Yeah. This is an actual discovery. All right. So, I don't know if you've heard of the ancient city of Eridu, but according to ancient Mesopotamian tradition, it was the original city in Mesopotamia, like the Sumerian king list, I think, mentions that. Now, turns out it's not the earliest city in Mesopotamia. It could be one of the very first settlements, but it didn't urbanize before everybody else. Uruk, for example, urbanized before Eridu. But it was an important city, for sure, in Mesopotamia. And they found the remains of a network of irrigation canals near the site. Okay, the geoarchaeologist by the name of Jafar Jotheri was in charge of this project. Yeah, it predates the first millennium BC, so that's going to be before 1000 BC. Okay, yeah, so pretty interesting. So if you want to find out more information about this, I will let you know. Well, actually, I'll put the link to this, but I'll also maybe I'll put a link to the actual study. So here's the actual study from Antiquity Journal, where it has a lot more information about it. And some great maps and things like that, showing you the network. And I was going to click on this to show you, but look how big it is. Can't really see much. But yeah. Anyway, so irrigation canals and Eridu. Now, why is this significant? We already knew they had irrigation there, right? Yeah, well, we do know they had irrigation in Mesopotamia, but to be able to actually find the canals, well, first of all, we can locate where the water was being directed, right? But also learn a little bit more about how the process worked. Because, our evidence of irrigation is scanty around these places, so when we get a nice, beautiful network of canals, it's kind of a big deal. Irrigation in Mesopotamia is huge. Yeah. There was a debate on Piers Morgan with a follow-up on archaeology with Flint Dibble with Milo Rossi. That is right. I couldn't believe it when I saw this. That here we are, 4 faces, right? They were on Piers Morgan, Flint, and Milo. And of course, on the other side, we had Jimmy Corsetti and Dan Richards from the Debunking channel. So Piers had on, and I'm not sure about this, but I don't know if they knew until it happened that they were all going to be there. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to have them all on there. So yeah, I think Piers probably knew about them because 3 of them were on Rogan. And I don't know if Flint brought Milo in. Maybe that happened. Not sure. But anyway, they were talking about this thing. And yeah, and even Jimmy and Dan were a bit skeptical of this. So, all right, let's look at another piece of news here. Oh, I just got a donation. I heard the ding. Sharon, thank you so much. Oh, and by the way, we do have a goal today of 20 super chats. Okay, if we get to 20 super chats, I'll do super chants. I wonder what a super chant is. If we get to 20 super chats, I will do another live stream on interesting things in social media that I did before. People seem to like the last one, but it hasn't gotten a ton of views, so not entirely sure if it's sustainable. But if you want me to do it again, consider giving me. I think it has to be a minimum of $2, but this helps support the channel, so it's much appreciated. It's for a good cause. All right. Now look at this. Longest known inscription in the undeciphered Linear A script of Minoan civilization, found on an ivory scepter in Knossos. And here it is. Knossos, as you may know, is where the big Minoan palace is on the island of Crete, okay, in the Aegean, and that's the center of Minoan civilization, right? Now, Linear A is a script that has not yet been deciphered. We can't read it, okay, which is interesting because Linear B we have deciphered, and that's how you write ancient Greek before the Greek alphabet was invented. And some of the signs are the same, but because we don't know the Minoan language, we can't decipher it, right? Even if you can figure out, well, maybe it has a similar sound, we still don't know the language, and we don't have a lot of it. But a discovery like this, okay, this is the longest inscription of Linear A. Longer inscriptions make decipherment easier. All right, this is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to decipher the Indus script. All short inscriptions. You get some long ones, makes it easier. Okay, so this could be a breakthrough. Who knows? I don't know if you can see from the image the writing on it. It's kind of damaged, but it goes all the way around. This is either a staff or a scepter, but it's made out of ivory. And yeah. It comes from, here's a bit of the palace. So it came right from the palace. You think, right? Oh, I thought they already excavated the Knossos palace. There's still more to be found there, folks. There's still more to be found. Yeah. Oh, we're getting some donations. I hear the little ding going off. So that's good. I appreciate it, folks. After I share this with you, I'll give you full acknowledgement. All right. Other things have been found here as well, but here's where the actual find site was, where they first dug it out. All right, and so I will leave. There's actually a link to the archaeological article. This is a media article, but you can check that out later. All right. Well, I'll get this in a second, but first, let me talk a little bit about what you guys are up to. Well, did I? What happened? Did I click off on the? Oh. Let me reload here. Okay. So, Andrea and Dully, is that a second one, Dully? Oh my goodness! Thank you so much. Sharon, Dully, Andrea, MR. Is that a second one from? And Sharon, another one from Sharon. Now this is cheating, guys. We want we want to get 20 different people. Okay. Now, not to say I don't love this. I certainly love it. Okay. It's great, but shouldn't be all on your shoulders. Okay. Shouldn't be all on your shoulders. Everybody should be coming in here, and we have time. We have time. All right. We've got 6 though. Okay. 6 is great, and it's much appreciated. Okay. Wow, that's crazy. What an artifact. Isn't it? Isn't it? Someone find a text with linear A and B, please. Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful, Carl? You have a bilingual inscription? Yeah, it'd be like a Rosetta Stone, wouldn't it? It'd be great. I hope you don't hear my dog barking there. But anyway, he's in the other room. Look at this one here. UB researcher leads discovery of first Bronze Age settlement in the Maghreb. If you don't know where the Maghreb is, that is in North Africa, west of Egypt. That whole area there is the Maghreb. And so this is was found in Morocco, as I recall, and it is the first Bronze Age settlement ever found there. Okay, you can see the team here. It's dated to between 2200 and 600 BC. That means that's the period of occupation. So very old. All right, and it would show that the earliest site of this chronology in Mediterranean Africa, except for Egypt. Amazing. So yeah, now not a ton has been unearthed yet, but you can see a little bit of where they're working here. But yeah, looks like a beautiful day that day. It's about 10 kilometers from the coast, so I thought that was worth mentioning. And then we have I got it cut off here. Let me fix that. You want to see more of this? Let's see. I don't know how I did that, but is that as low as I can make it go? I guess that's as best as I can do. I posted this on social media the other day, and people got excited about it. A discovery changes the origin of metallurgy. Well, it potentially changes the origin of metallurgy, because you have to have corroborating evidence and all that and see how it works in with all the other evidence. But it could very well change the origin of metallurgy. Okay, because there's evidence, what appears to be evidence of copper working, all right, in Anatolia. Okay, this is in modern day Turkey. 9,000 years prior to when they thought it began. Okay, so this is huge. All right, think of this. All right, so this is over in eastern Turkey, and they found, let me show you, some copper ore, of course, but also worked copper. Okay, you can see it here. Yeah, this shows that people were working it. We have evidence of human processing of copper. Yeah. The vitrified material exhibits a fluid texture on one side and a depression on the other, suggesting that it was in contact with a container or structure when exposed to high temperatures. All right, so they're smelting it. Yeah. One of the most debated aspects of metallurgical archaeology is the transition from cold working of native copper to high temperature smelting, and this appears to be an example of the latter. Until now, the earliest evidence of smelting had been at Umuktepe, dating to 5000 BCE. Okay, this is dating, oh sorry, wait a minute. Okay, all right. I said 9,000 years earlier. No. 9,000 years ago, okay? All right, I got that wrong. It's 3,000 years earlier. Still a lot of years, okay? 3,000 years earlier. So, pretty cool. It raises some questions. Lead isotope analyses have revealed that the metal from the copper bar-shaped object does not come from the nearby Ergani mines, but from more distant sources in the Black Sea region. This suggests long-distance exchange networks, reinforcing the idea that knowledge of copper was already significant during this period. You understand that? Like, it could have been just a local thing, but the fact that they're getting it from somewhere else suggests that maybe a wider region was engaging in this practice. Yeah. And the purity of the copper suggests that it may have been refined in some way, raising the possibility that these ancient inhabitants were not only experimenting with fire, but had also developed some form of technique to improve the quality of the metal. Yeah. So, we're going to have to do some reassessment here on the origins of metallurgy, folks, especially smelting. Pretty exciting. Holy cow, we got a bunch more donations. JP, thank you so much. Alta, love the channel, she says. Thank you. MR, is that another one? Thank you so much. 02, thank you. Goat Lurker, you as well. I want another social media ancient history live. Okay, all right, well, we're almost there. We need 9 more super chats, and then I will do it, because it shows there's at least enough interest, hopefully. All right? Yeah. There's an old iron mine from the 1800s near me. It's an ancient inland sea delta, so it's all sediment. It's cool to explore. Ah, okay. Wait, can you make copper without smelting? Yeah. I mean, if you can find, fairly pure pieces of copper, you can just pound it, shape it into things. So I think it is possible to get copper without having to smelt it. I mean, you got to get lucky, but I think you can. Yeah. Okay. Shall we look at another one, folks? Oh, Imperial used. $5. Thank you so much. We should name the newly discovered Bronze Age civilization from Morocco Atlantis after the Atlantes people that were claimed to live there. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah. That would get, I think that would get under some people's skin, but I'm okay with it. All right. Innovative ancient burial site found to be older than Stonehenge. Yes, now, we've already known about this place. This is new research on dating it, okay? So these are the Flagstones in Dorset. And new work there has come up with a brand new date for the age of these megaliths, all right? And they are now dated to 3,200 years BC, 2 centuries earlier than they previously thought. And it also puts it prior to Stonehenge. Yeah. Dr. Susan Greeny says Flagstones is an unusual monument, a perfectly circular dished enclosure with burials and cremations associated with it. In some respects, it looks like monuments that come earlier, which we call causewayed enclosures, and in others it looks a bit like things that came later that we call henges. But we didn't know where it sat between these types of monuments, and the revised chronology places it in an earlier period than we expected. Things just keep getting older, folks. That was Graham Hancock's line, in case you didn't know. But yeah, things cannot get younger. Now, this is the funny thing, right? If you do archaeology, right, and you're digging things up or whatever, and dating them, all right, and now you say, oh, this is our earliest evidence of such and such, right? Now, in the future, when you find more things, is it going to ever make it later? No, you're only going to find things that are earlier, right? That'll change it. You can only find things that are earlier. Of course it's going to be older. Yeah, that when you find something from a specific date, and the date's pretty solid, you know that at least by that date they had it, right? So if it's going to change, it's always going to get older. Yeah. Now this got older because of a redating, but yeah. Stonehenge, by the way, goes back to 2900, and this is 3200, so it's a few centuries before. Yeah. Yeah, it's mainly radiocarbon that we're talking about here. Okay, but you can read up on that when you get a chance. I'll put all these links under the video after I'm done. I'm not going to put them there beforehand because then you'll just go read and you won't listen to me talk. All right. I'm hearing all kinds of dings from you guys. Oh my gosh. Okay. Jack, please give us an update on your plans for November. All right, Jack. I guess I'll do that right now, okay? Okay, everybody. As you may know, I took a group to Egypt in November of this 2024. And it was a huge success. We had a great time. And Jack, in fact, was there. Right, Jack? And we had a wonderful time. So I want to do it again this year. Not Egypt. We're going to go to somewhere different. I filmed the Antiquities... I was going to say Antiquities Travel Guide. I changed the name. Antiquities Explorer. I filmed that in Egypt, and I want to do that again. So there's so many places to go to. But I got a couple of requests for this. So what does the word Olmec mean to you, huh? The Olmecs and the Zapotecs and the Maya. Yes, we're talking about ancient Mesoamerica, and I'm going to take a group of people to Mesoamerica in November, probably the first 2 weeks in November, somewhere around there, with Adept Expeditions, and it's going to be fantastic because we're going to see the huge Olmec heads. We're going to go to their capitals. We're going to go to the Zapotec capitals, and of course see some amazing Maya places like Palenque. I haven't made the official announcement yet, but it's a first-come, first-served situation. It'll be a 2-week trip, and you'll basically come with me to, the Maya homeland, the homeland of the Olmecs and so forth. And we're going to see Teotihuacan and all that as well. So if you are interested in going, it's all, the hotels are included, the many meals will be included. It's going to be an amazing trip. All of the transportation taken care of by Adept Expeditions. And I will be teaching on site and filming episodes of Antiquities Explorer. So if you want to come along and you've got the money, what I have below the video, you can probably see it right now, is I have a waiting list. So these are going to be the people that will be notified first about the dates and the price and all that, so they can get first dibs on going. Because we're going to cap it probably at 30 people, I think. And so if you want to be the first to be notified, you're not committed to going if you put your name on the list. But if you want to be the first to be notified so that you can have first dibs, then just sign up at the link under this video, okay? It's going to be great. For those of you who can't go, of course, there will be videos on it, probably in early 2026. Yeah. All right, let's look at some more archaeology news. Okay. Han warriors found dismembered in 2100-year-old mass grave in Mongolia. Now, this is interesting. They knew about this mass grave. There was a bunch of skeletons, okay? There's a wider shot down here. Where is it? Here you go. See this mass grave? Bunch of skeletons. And it's in Mongolia, not too far from the border. And they didn't know exactly who this was. So they did some DNA analysis of it. 14 of the skeletons they got DNA from. And they found out that they're not the Xiongnu, the people who lived in Mongolia at the time. They're the Chinese, okay, northern Chinese. All right. Now, it just so happens that in ancient times there were invasions of Xiongnu territory by Chinese armies, okay, and this is apparently some of those soldiers who didn't make it. All right. Yeah, they got slaughtered by the Xiongnu. These wars were fought between 133 BCE to 89 CE. So this is, right around the time of Jesus, okay? A little bit before and a little bit after. But this is when the Han-Xiongnu Wars took place, and this is when these soldiers were killed. So I thought that was really interesting. It's a confirmation, basically, of the wars that we hear about in the ancient documents, right? And, and now we know exactly who these dead people were. So I thought that was kind of cool. Not cool for them, but cool for us. Look at this. A huge chunk of prized Egyptian blue pigment is uncovered in Nero's palace. Okay, so this is in Italy. And I don't know if you know much about Egyptian blue, but it is a synthetic blue invented by the Egyptians to mimic lapis lazuli. And and they manufactured it, and then it would be used for coloring things, for frescoes and things like that. Well, Nero was building a palace in the 1st century, all right, called the Domus Aurea, and it's in Rome. And, a big, beautiful place. So they've been doing some archaeological work there, and they found not only the blue, but they also found some yellow ochre, some varieties of red, okay, that were to be used for painting the walls. But the fact that it's this huge chunk, huge chunk of blue, it's kind of interesting. You don't get stuff like that very often, okay? What we get is we get the frescoes, and then we're like, okay, oh, look at the blue here. Oh, that looks like Egyptian blue. But they actually get a chunk of Egyptian blue, okay? Which, of course, they ground to make into the paint or whatever. Pretty cool. I'm not sure why this is here. But yeah, so Egyptian blue. I did a whole video on this. You probably, maybe have seen it, some of you, on whether they had the color blue in ancient times. So check that out. MR, thank you so much for another donation. David, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We're up to 18. Alexander, thanks for your work, he says. One more super chat. Kissy Kissy, thank you. Can't wait for the social media Google debunking. Thank you, Kissy Kissy. And Nadia. Hello, I guess it means hello from Berlin. Still working on moving. Thank you, Nadia. Beautiful. Wonderful. So we have 18 super chats according to my calculations, so we need 2 more to actually make sure we do this social media live stream, which would be in 2 weeks. Okay? 2 weeks. Look at all these comments. Okay? The burial site for Flagstones, says Stuart, is borderline. Only 5 burials found with over 1,000 years of use. Wow, so not that many graves. David says, hopefully I'm cleared for travel by then. Oh, get your passport. Jason says, I have farm animals. I can't go anywhere for 2 weeks. Oh. Don't they have, like, animal babysitters? What about cartel activities down there? Well, we'll score you some good stuff, Gladys. I'm kidding. Okay, I'm kidding. I've been to Mexico before, and I've been to the Yucatan anyway. The Yucatan's very safe. But I don't know what it's like on the other places, but we'll be with a group of people. Should be just fine. Just fine. But I will be taking people to sites that not a lot of people go to. Right? That's one of the things I like to do. We're not just going to go to the big famous ones. We're going to go to places that, a little bit out of the way. All right? Out in the jungles. Show you some things that not a lot of people know about. That's what makes it fun. All right. That's cool. The Domus Aurea was cool to see. Oh, did you get to see it, Cosmic Debris? I'd love to see someone use it a little bit. Yeah, the Samantha the Blue? Absolutely. Glenn! Glenn, do you count? I guess you do count. Yes, of course you count. Glenn, my moderator, has donated $2. Wonderful. And then Gladys just made number 20! We reached our goal! All right! Here you go. Thanks for your information. Thank you, Gladys. Wow. This is the 3rd time I've done a goal with Super Chats, and we reached it every time. Alan, thank you, Alan. We're going even over 20. Fantastic. Sweden's Iron Age was pushed back 500 years, says Lars. Perhaps this was published only in Swedish. I didn't see anything about that. Lars, send me a link. Jaden, $20. Whoa. Just started watching your channel a couple weeks ago. I've burned through much of your backlog already. Loving it. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Jaden. Wow, very generous of you. Appreciate it. This channel is completely supported by you guys. Occasionally, I will do like a brand deal, where I say, buy this product, because I have to. But I don't get that much for that. And so it's mainly you guys. So I really, really appreciate all the support. help keep the channel going. I do this full time. I do work part-time at the local college, but I don't teach that many classes there. I do teach classes online. That's the other way I support myself, but that's about it, folks. I know some of you think I'm a government shill trying to fool everyone that there's no Atlantis, but it's not true. We went to Lower Baja last month. It's very safe. We were in Los Barres. Okay, it was beautiful. All right, great. Question, do you think it's possible the migration to India could be related to the Indo-Aryan superstrate in the Mitanni text? Or what's the deal with it? Young Diego, there's definitely a connection. There's no doubt there's a connection, but there is disagreement as to what the connection is, right? Because Hurrian is the main language of the Mitanni state. And yet, we do have evidence of Indo-Aryan words in some of their texts, right? And among some of their warrior elites. So we're still unsure of the relationship because, well, we haven't yet found the capital of Mitanni, which might have an archive where we can get some actual information. But it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Do you do your own video editing or do you contract that out? Glenn, on all the travel videos, I do it myself. It's like my little pet project. I love doing the travel videos. But for some of the easier videos, I get some help. So like the last one I did on Rome, red pill Rome and blue pill Rome, I just gave the material all to somebody, said, here's what I want, please do it, and then they edited it for me. So I have that. That happens too. Awesome Jerkface says, I think the two most intriguing periods are the Chinese exploration when they made all the ships and also the West African one. You're talking about a period of time when they were exploring? Certainly, yeah. All right, let's look at a few more. One of the largest and most significant Iron Age hoards ever discovered in the UK has been unveiled. So you can see a bit of the hoard here. It's called the Melsonby Hoard. Is that how you say Melsonby? Has emerged as one of the most significant Iron Age discoveries in the UK, promising to transform our understanding of life in Britain around 2,000 years ago. It was found by a metal detectorist in 2021, but since then it's been studied by archaeologists. Okay, they found over 800 artifacts. So they've been analyzing it, and among the finds, they found the remains of at least 7 4-wheeled wagons and 2-wheeled chariots, an unusual discovery that suggests the presence of an elite class in Iron Age Britain. The intricate designs of the harnesses, adorned with Mediterranean coral and colored glass, indicate that these objects were not merely functional, but also served as symbols of wealth and status. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, this is the largest single deposit of horse harness and vehicle parts excavated in Britain. Look at this. This is on the shoulder of a cauldron. A human face. Yeah. Oh, this picture's not showing up. But anyway, yeah, so this is from Iron Age Britain. It's reigniting discussions about Britain's connections to continental Europe prior to the Roman conquest because they have things from the Mediterranean, right? Some of the items were intentionally broken or burned, so they were wondering about that. Why? Was it some kind of ritual act of destruction? Okay? So there's open questions about it, but it's quite a big discovery. Yeah. And here's another one. Archaeologists unearthed monumental tomb near fabled ancient Greek city. Okay? The city was associated with a healing cult, probably. And it's the ancient city of Tanea. We actually know about this from documents as well. So they've been excavating there. They've already found some things before now, but now they've found some more. A monumental structure north of Tanea in a place called Kiliomodi. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Yeah, and it looks like a Macedonian-style tomb. See it here? And here's inside. Look at that. So, gold objects we have here. Look at that beautiful image of a woman on the, well, there's a ring. What is that? It must be part of a necklace, I'm guessing. And some coins. Okay. Key among the discoveries is the Kouros of Tanea, dated to about 560 BCE. It's a marble sculpture. But they found this a long time ago. Okay. And in 84, that was in 1846 they found it. Then 84 they found a sarcophagus. And then in 2017 a bunch of more tombs were discovered. And that's kind of what they've been excavating around, is those tombs. Yeah. So the ancient city of Tanea. Of course, the tombs have been robbed, it looks like, but not completely, from what we can gather here, right? But it doesn't look like the body was still in it. What are you guys talking about over here? Vehicles like spaceships from the Booty constellation. Jason, I have my own hoard to deal with. Selena, pyramid holes remind me of every hoax I've ever heard. Oh, yeah. Were you here around? We were just talking about that, Selena, early on. Kissy says, beautiful ring. Yeah. What is that, stone? Onyx? I think it looks like onyx, yeah. Did statues have rings? I don't think so. I'm not going to rule it out, but a lot of times the fingers are not separated. By the way, when it comes to archaeology of ancient Greece, what is one of the main sources to search for temples or anything of the sort? Pausanias? Oh yeah, well, Pausanias did do a geographical guide, right? Yeah, there's different ancient sources, and there are other geographies as well. Strabo and Pliny and people like that who sometimes mention cities. A lot of them mention cities that we don't even know where they are, you know. But they give us an idea of where they might be. Sure. Yeah, okay, let's look at another one. Strange skeleton discovery could rewrite our history of the pyramids. It's a little overstated, but here's what the finding is about. Okay? They found some... Well, actually, they've already discovered this place. This place called Tombos. Okay? It's in... right near Egypt, but it's in Sudan, so it's just south of the border of Egypt, okay? And so there's ancient city of Tombos, and they found tombs at Tombos, okay? But what's interesting about it, and this is from about 1500 BCE or so, okay, so this is like New Kingdom period of Egypt, is they found people buried in pyramids who aren't nobles. Okay, so the pyramid burials of common people. Now, it was thought that only royalty or only nobility would have tombs like that. We know that, like, for example, in the New Kingdom and in the Ptolemaic period, they were still using pyramids for nobles' tombs. They stopped using them for kings and queens, but they were still using them for nobles. All right, smaller, of course, because they weren't as rich, but not regular people. And now we have evidence of regular people having pyramids for their tombs. Well, now these aren't as built as well as the nobles' pyramids, okay? They're cheaper pyramids, but they're still pyramids, okay? They're calling them Nubian pyramids. This is in Nubia. This is Meroe, but these are not the ones we're talking about here. They actually did not provide any really good pictures of the pyramids that they're talking about. They are destroyed, largely, I think, but they've been able to identify them as that. Okay? But it is interesting, right? Pyramid tombs for non-nobility. So that's in Science Focus. You can check that out. Underwater archaeology. People are always interested in underwater archaeology. Archaeologists discover remains of an ancient port structure with buildings submerged in Assini, Greece. You can see one of the divers here. This is part of the structure. Underwater archaeology is so cool. You know, it's like a one-step up. Like, being an archaeologist is cool, but being an underwater archaeologist is even more cool. That's just my opinion, okay? So, Assini is a submerged ancient city, or at least part of the city is submerged, and that's where they've been working. It's in the Argolid in Greece. So the research was conducted in October, but apparently they didn't announce it until now. So yeah, here's a shot of the area. All right, and you can see some more of the work being done here. Some pottery shards they put into their laundry basket. Yeah. The thing about the port is it hasn't been dated yet, from what I recall. They don't know, I think it says here, they don't know exact date yet of it. It's ancient for sure, but they're not sure of the date. Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty, well, I don't see it now. But I seem to remember reading that they don't have an exact date for it yet. But yeah, so, but a port structure means that this is where ships were coming in and out, right? That makes sense because it's a nice little bay. So yeah, I thought I'd share that one with you. And then here, 2,400-year-old puppets. Did you think I was going to have a story like that? Yeah, 2,400-year-old puppets with dramatic facial expression discovered atop pyramid in El Salvador. Now, here's what they look like. Now, just so you know, because I didn't know this, I thought if something is a puppet, it means you can put your hand up in it. But that's not the case here. They were used for performance, though. So they could hold them and make them move around, and they would use them for performance, but they didn't actually put their hand up in them. They're made out of ceramics, and you can see them here. And if you look down here, yeah, you can see their heads come off, right? So they can put the heads, they can attach the heads. There, they've got like a protrusion coming out, and then they have a socket to put the head on. Now, the reason why this is an interesting discovery is not just because, oh, cool puppets, but it was believed that this area of El Salvador was isolated from the other areas of Central America, but these puppets are very similar to those we see in other places, and were probably used for similar rituals, so that suggests contact. Okay, this is around 400 to 500 AD, it says here. Yeah. Oh, that's when it was. I'm sorry. This is when it was covered in ash. Sorry. So it's pre 400 to 500. Actually, I think it says up here. Oh yeah, the female figurines date to the Middle Pre-Classical. Oh, so much older, 350 to 100 BC. They say here. All right. So this is in the BC period. Amazing. Yeah. So pretty old. Also, it's very rare. We found puppets like this in other places, but out of context. Like, we didn't find them at the site. But this was actually at the site on a pyramid, so it's kind of, I shouldn't say a pyramid, it's a step pyramid, you know. A pyramidal-like structure. All right. But, yeah, there you go. Pretty interesting. The one downside of the goal of the Super Chats is once you get the goal, that's it. but if you do want to give a super chat later in the, that's perfectly fine with me. Yeah. Two friends of mine do a YouTube show with puppets. Not at all intended for kids, though. Okay, Glenn. Oh, marionettes. Do marionettes count as puppets? I guess so. Yeah. It was isolated. The only things that lived there were the puppets. The first bobblehead puppets? Maybe. I don't know if they bobble, but yeah. Pinworm says, I'm happy to be subscribed to your channel. Thanks for your efforts making it so enjoyable. People, one of the things that people have said to me is that, on the pre-recorded videos, I seem to be a lot more, serious or whatever. And they like it when I'm live because I'm more myself. I don't know if you think that or not, but I'm glad you're enjoying the channel. I'm really not surprised by base metallurgy being something that dates much earlier than believed. It's tossing stuff in the fire, basically. Eventually you run across copper, tin, etc. Yeah, that makes sense. Certainly. All right, let's look at another one. All right, a 3,700-year-old stone circle discovered in Derbyshire forest. You can see here in the picture on the right, Yeah, that's a monolith there, and that one they knew about. But they thought it was just an isolated one. They thought it was just, this megalith here is just sitting here in the middle of nowhere. Well, they've recently done some digging. And what did they find when they dug? They found it was part of a larger stone circle. So we actually have here another one of those circles with the standing stones, okay, in Derbyshire that they did not know about, even though they knew about the one. Okay, so it's part of a larger prehistoric complex, including an ancient stone circle with a ceremonial platform. It dates back to the early Bronze Age in Britain. So I thought that was worth mentioning. They identified 5 nearby stones that would have once been standing, and they created a stone circle or oval that was about 25 meters by 23 meters. Oh, and they carbon dated it to 1700 BCE. Yeah. The lead historic environment advisor said the discovery is hugely significant and transforms our understanding of the Farley Moor site. What we've uncovered is evidence of a much more complex ceremonial landscape, which the original standing stone is part of. The stone platform predates the standing stone itself, suggesting continuous ritual use of the site over hundreds of years, strongly linked to the water and the importance it held for Bronze Age communities. So, very interesting discovery. And then here, we have a discovery in Rome. Can you believe they're still finding stuff in Rome? Well, actually, it's not in Rome proper. It's in the Roman port of Ostia, which is not far from Rome. Okay, Ostia Antica, which is near the water, of course. And they found there the remains of a mikveh. A mikveh, in case you don't know, is a Jewish ritual bath. Okay, but you don't have a mikveh in like a Jewish home. This is a communal area for the Jews to worship. So it shows that there was a community of Jews in Ostia Antica. Okay, which is significant. We didn't know about that before. I mean, we knew there were Jews in Rome, but this is like evidence of there's a significant Jewish presence here, and the date is I can't remember now. Between the 4th and 6th centuries CE. Okay, so it's later. It's later in Roman history, after it already had turned Christian. But yeah, pretty interesting. And here's some other finds that they have from there. Yeah, Ostia Antica. Cool site. And then here, we've got something from Egypt. Okay, military commander tomb dating back to King Ramses III, uncovered in Ismailia. And yeah. So this is a high-ranking military commander who, Ramses III, in case you don't know, was the last really great ruler of the New Kingdom. After him, it kind of goes into decline. But so this is an important general from his time, and they found his tomb. I mean, you might say, oh, it's just a general, it's not a royal tomb, but they found some interesting things in here. Look at this signet ring, pretty cool. And some pottery, some metal items. He's a military commander. Obviously, there's going to be some weaponry in there. Pretty cool. Some scarabs, not real scarabs, but you know the kind that have inscriptions on them. But it looks like you can't see much on them. You'll see a little bit there. It's not very well made, that one. But yeah. Speaking of Egypt, I've got a new course coming up on ancient Egypt. I got actually 2 courses coming up on ancient Egypt. Egypt, Age of the Pyramids, and Egypt, Age of Empires. So if you're interested in Egyptian history, I touch on it here on YouTube, but I don't get into a lot of detail. If you really want to get into it, the actual history of Egypt from the very beginnings, prehistoric times, working your way up, early dynastic, or pre-dynastic, early dynastic, Old Kingdom, First Intermediate Period, Middle Kingdom. That's what's covered in the first class. We'll talk all about the pyramids and everything, how the Egyptian state originally was formed, all that early stuff, the pyramid texts, and everything we know about those early days in the first class. It's called Egypt, Age of the Pyramids, and I have the link to my classes below the video. And then if you're more interested in the Empire period, then you can try Egypt, Age of Empires, where we talk about the second intermediate period, the creation of the new kingdom, which is the Empire period, when Egypt started expanding and conquering other lands. And then we'll talk about the decline, and it'll go probably until the Ptolemaic period, depending how much I can cover. But again, in very much detail. So if you like any of that stuff, check that out in the link below the video. All right, what else you got to say over here, folks? I'm wondering whether these stone circle guys could explain optics with a single photons any better than we can. Probably not. You can't. So I don't know what I don't know. Ostia was cool too. Practically empty when I was there. Great to go when no one's there. Let's see. One of the oldest synagogues outside of Judea is in Ostia. You mean that's still being used? Oh, that's interesting. They'll never stop finding things in Rome. Probably not. Probably not. It's a trade port. Everybody was probably present. That's true. Here in the UK we say Derbyshire as if it were Derbyshire. Derbyshire. Okay. Strange pronunciations in the UK. Why can't you use the actual letters, you know? I still don't even know what to call my Worcestershire sauce, you know? Is it Worcestershire? I don't even know. Okay. Are you familiar at all with Luke Cavern's channel? His research on Central and South America ruins has a lot of novel information and images. I am familiar with Luke's channel. Yes. Luke is an interesting person. He started out being very interested in the alternative archaeology stuff, but he's been going to school, or he was going to school, and so he is becoming more scientific about things, which I think is a good trend. But I haven't watched a lot of his videos, but I do know of him. Yeah. Military commanders only get squares, no pyramids allowed. Well, it depends on what they want, I suppose, and what they can afford. But yeah, it wasn't like everybody had to have a pyramid. But if you wanted a pyramid, it looks like anybody could have a pyramid. I need a signet ring. Tired of having to write my name. Good idea, kissy kissy. Ellie says, one read of some of the ancient Egyptian court papyri will confirm that the ordinary people of ancient Egypt were at least as colorful and interesting as their royalty. Sure, yeah, absolutely. It doesn't take long. Like, if you think about it, you look at pyramids and all that, it's not going to take long for regular people to be like, well, maybe I could have a pyramid. Wouldn't it be cool? You know, we can make it smaller, but, you know, it doesn't take long for that to happen. Glenn has to leave. Okay, Glenn, no problem. Thank you for moderating up to this point. Always appreciate it. Nadia says, I'm still trying to recover from what I caught in Mexico. Don't scare people away, Nadia. I'm crying that I can't survive the tropics to see things like Central American pyramids. Yeah, well, a lot of it depends on, of course, the luck of the draw. But when you go with a group, depending on how good the company is, they know kind of where to go, and also what to do when things happen. But like anywhere, it's not just because like the water is really bad in certain countries. A lot of it just has to do with your water you're not used to. You know, people get sick sometimes drinking water in what we consider first world countries, and it's just because you're not used to it. You know, yeah, there are things you can take. Let's see. Master Descartes says, hey, finally caught you live. I'm glad. The photon thing was just a joke. I figured so. Okay. Nadia says, Ashurbanipal to Alexander, even Caesar doesn't really answer the part everyone wonders about, which is how they went from polytheism to Islam. This is outside of the ancient period, so yeah, after you get to the Islamic period, I don't know as much about it. Okay, let's go on to some more. I'm actually going over time here because I'm taking so long with the chit-chat, but I do like talking with you. Genetic evidence reveals the enigma of the origin and expansion of Celtic languages in Europe. Yeah, they did a genetic study. And I'll show you down here. So, they're trying to figure out, like, where the Celts came from. Now, does not, like, one genetic study does not just prove something and then it's discussion over, but it adds more data. And there have been 3 theories about where the Celtic languages started. Okay? So you can see here, traditionally, one holds that they spread along the Atlantic coast with the bell beaker culture in the early Bronze Age. Another suggests an origin in France, Iberia, or northern Italy. The third, and now the one most supported by the new research, points to an expansion from Central Europe in the late Bronze Age and the Iron Age, linked to the Urnfield, Hallstatt, and Latin cultures. So this is what you're looking at for the Urnfield systems. So somewhere in this area is maybe where Celtic languages originated, according to this new study. But further study is going to have to be done. But it is interesting that this new study favors this particular interpretation. They did take genetic samples from more than 750 ancient people. All right, from around a number of areas: France, Germany, Austria, and the British Isles. And they've been able to use this. Now, you might say, wait a minute. This is not... Celtic is a language, right? These are Celtic languages. How are you using genetics to know what people spoke? And it's not... Obviously, it's not a one-to-one connection. You can't just say, oh, this haplogroup spoke this language, and this haplogroup spoke that language. It's not that simple, okay? But when you know kind of where people are moving and what language that they ultimately end up speaking and things like that, you can kind of make some educated guesses about, well, look, there's a bunch of people that's going over here, and we know when they got there they were Celtic-speaking people, so why don't we just trace them back? So you can make some educated guesses in that regard. Because languages, yes, you can learn somebody else's language, but especially in ancient times, the main way you learn a language is from your parents, right? So there is a genetic component in that regard. Parents pass on their languages to their children. Doesn't have to be that way all the time, but that's the most common way of a language being spread. So that's why they use genetics to trace languages oftentimes. Yeah. Mexico is safe. I went on my own last September. Only scary thing was Hurricane Helene, which blew out my hotel room window at 4 a.m. Oh my gosh, Claire, you were there? Oh, well, I'm glad you survived. I guess in some respects, some of the question is, where did the ancient world go? I think the last writer of hieroglyphics got tracked down to the 300s or 400s. Yeah, the last I got to see. I actually got, this past November, I got to see the last known hieroglyphs, Nadia. And I'm going to show it to you in an upcoming video. Sound exciting? Yeah. And by that time already it was like not being used very much. He was trying to keep it alive. Didn't work though. Wasn't the metallurgy thing something Flint was debating with Hancock? Well, that was about metallurgy way back in prehistoric times, right? Not just in prehistoric times. There was metallurgy in prehistoric times. I mean in like early prehistoric times, so like Paleolithic times and like that. So that was being debated, yeah, about when it started. But Hancock wants it to go way... Well, actually, no, he doesn't. Because I think he said on that occasion, like, he's not saying his advanced civilization had metallurgy. I don't think he is saying they had metallurgy. He said they have other sciences. Because I think he knows the metallurgy thing doesn't work with it that well. So I think he's supposing other types of technology. Okay, let's look at some more. 2,000-year-old large-scale, well-preserved wood houses discovered in East China. Now, it's very rare to find wood, right? Especially this old. This is from the early Warring States period. So we're talking about 5th and 4th centuries BCE, so very old. And houses, I mean, you get royal residences and nobles' tombs and things like that, okay. But actually, I don't even think you get royal residences, but you get tombs, okay? But to find the actual remains of wooden houses. They're not complete, obviously, but wooden houses from that far back is amazing. So I thought, I got to share this with all of you. Yeah. Archaeologists from Shaoxing Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology identified ancient river channels, wells, and other relics beneath the site. And, yeah, they found the remains of 2 wooden architectural foundations covering approximately 1,300 square meters. One of them features a stilted terraced wood frame houses. I guess maybe it means one house, covered by reeds, bamboo, and woven strips. The walls, made of interwoven wooden posts and thatch, retain numerous small holes, which archaeologists believe were left by grass ropes used to bind the structure together. The second foundation consists of wooden piles arranged in 10 parallel rows, oriented southwest to northeast. The piles, secured by horizontal beams and layered with bark, suggest another stilted construction. So in other words, it's raised up, okay, to stay out of the water. So amazing. Yeah, that's the only picture, unfortunately. And then we have, along the same lines, 2 ancient boats. Yeah, from Vietnam. From the site of Bac Ninh, pronounced something like that. Yeah, now take a look down here. I'll show you the picture. A couple of pictures. Look at these boats. Wooden boats. The wood still intact, folks. Yeah, this was on a trade route. So it's not part of a. I don't think it's part of a tomb, as I recall. I think it's. Yeah, it was at the bottom of a pond. Yeah, but they're really well preserved, and so it's not like a boat you find like near the pyramids or something like that. These are boats that were actually probably in use, and they haven't dated them yet. But the style, they say, is from a very early period. So these are very early boats used for trade from ancient Vietnam. Isn't this cool? When they find wood, I always think it's amazing. And they found man-made wooden objects from like early Stone Age, in some places. So it does survive under the right conditions. Yeah. So they'll come up with a date, and when they do come up with a date, I will let you know. All right, and then we got here another one from Egypt. Ancient Egyptian royal tomb sheds light on history in Sohag. So Sohag is kind of in the middle of Egypt, all right? And an Egyptian-American team from the University of Pennsylvania has uncovered a royal tomb. So we talk about a general's tomb. This is a royal tomb from the Second Intermediate Period. Now, the Second Intermediate Period, so you know, is when Egypt was not united. So there were a number of rival kings, okay? But this is from one of the rulers. Well, I should say they don't know exactly who, okay? But it's from the Abydos, or Abydos dynasty. For many years, I always used to say Abydos, but I noticed that most people say Abydos, so I got to get into the habit, okay? It's the Abydos dynasty, which ruled from about 1700 to 1600 BCE, so very early. You can see some of the remains here of the royal tomb. If you're like, well, where's all the treasures and everything? Well, got looted, of course. But they did find some things. Look. Some jewelry. Look at that. A baby. I'm assuming that's a mummified baby. I don't think it's a doll. I think it's a mummified baby. But anyway, you can see some of the objects from the tomb. Whose it is, they don't know. But they're going to try to figure it out if they can find any inscriptions or anything. But yeah. So, pretty interesting. All right. I know I'm flying through these now, but it's because of the time. I was supposed to do this within like an hour and 10 or something. All right. Researchers define the borders of El Argar. Now, you ever hear of El Argar? Well, it was the first state in Iberia. Okay? Before all the other ones. So it's the earliest known state in the Iberian Peninsula, in what is now Spain. Okay? And over the years, many different sites from El Argar have been found, but now a research team got together and they collected all the data from all of the sites in order to figure out how big El Argar was. And this is what they came up with. So this is a region of all the sites that have been studied. And then you can see the dotted line. So basically, now I know what you're thinking, because I thought this. You're probably thinking, well, all they had to do was just draw a line around it, and that's how you know what the borders are. Yes, but there's a little more to it to that, because they had to, first of all, collect all the information about all the sites from all the research papers and all the archaeology that's been done in the area over many decades. And so collecting that all, that was what the work was all about, okay? And be able to figure out, okay, is this El Argar and is this not El Argar? And so they're able to figure out what the borders were. The only problem here is, of course, you can't see this in a map of all of Spain. So it's a little bit difficult to for us to put things into perspective, but yeah. So that's another one I want to share with you. And then I got one here. Oops. Mausoleum and tombs with a gladiator's epitaph discovered in the ancient Roman colony of Liternum in southern Italy. Okay. So I thought this was cool because Liternum was a Roman colony. In other words, the Romans were sent there early on to settle it. All right. But this is from pretty early, and they have a gladiator's tomb, which means that they had gladiatorial games probably there. This is from the late 1st century BCE to the mid-imperial period. So that's about 2nd or 3rd century CE that the material evidence comes from. And they loved the gladiator one because there's a marble funerary inscription mentioning the gladiator. Yeah, very well preserved. You can see it here. Look at this. Very cool burial. So I thought I'd share that with you. And then here, this is a minor discovery, but you know how we're always talking about Pompeii, and sometimes we talk about Herculaneum. These are sites, very important sites that were destroyed by Vesuvius. Well, there are other places that were destroyed by Vesuvius too, and one of them is Via Cuomo, and they've been doing some work there, and they recently found some art, okay, paintings showing grape harvest. I guess they're stomping grapes right there. It's not as great as some work that you see at Pompeii, but I thought, okay, pretty interesting. They found some stuff there in Via Cuomo. So I'll mention that to you. And then here, this is interesting. So they started this a couple of years ago, but there's a digital archive, and they're putting cuneiform inscriptions in there. Well, the new version just came out. Okay, so it's version, what do they call it? 0.2. TLH Dig 0.2. Okay? Now they've got about 98% of all published sources of cuneiform. Now this is cuneiform from Anatolia, okay? Not from Mesopotamia. So Anatolian cuneiform. It's still the same cuneiform, but they're using it to write Hittite and things like that. And if you go to the site, you can find some documents here. The only thing is there's no translations. They're just in the original. So if I click on one here, let's go to this one here. It'll show you, this is a transliteration, not translation, transliteration of the pronunciation of the cuneiform. But if you are a scholar who reads Hittite, okay, then you've got something that you can work with here. I just thought it was cool. Okay, they're digitizing everything, and I think that's great. And then here we have shackled with iron chains. Archaeologists reveal the harsh reality of gold mines in Ptolemaic Egypt. So Ptolemaic Egypt, of course, is when the Greeks were ruling over, Macedonians, I should say, over Egypt, and they had gold mines. Well, they've had gold mines since at least the New Kingdom. But yeah, now what's interesting about the gold mines is they've been excavating there. And what did they come across recently? This kind of stuff. And you know what this stuff is? These are iron shackles. Now, when you're at gold mines and you find shackles, what does that tell you? It tells you that they got some enslaved people working there, okay? Like, the miners are not there. It's not like they're, oh, I'm just going to work today, honey. It's going to be so much fun. No, they've got people working the mines as punishment, probably. I think you could get sentenced to working in the mines, you know, as a criminal or something like that. So, yeah, it's forced labor we're talking about here, folks. And I thought that was interesting to find evidence of that at these gold mines. Let's see what you guys are all saying. Oh, you're talking about all kinds of things. Let's see. It's just probably the case metallurgy is earlier than we have evidence for. By the time you get to manufacturing artifacts, you've already covered a ton of ground. Yes. Boy, you're all interested in the copper one, aren't you? The oldest wooden structure discovered to date is 476,000 years ago from Zambia. Isn't that amazing? Oh, yeah. Also, extremely dry conditions can do it too, but I don't think they're as preserved as oxygen-free. Abydos, I'm pretty sure it's one of the most obscure dynasties of Egypt, no? Yeah, it is one of the more obscure ones, for sure, young Diego. All right. Iberia is Portugal and Spain, yes. I'm sure there's evidence out there for it somewhere, so many things have to go right for a discovery for it to take place. The dating does have to do with what we have, yeah. I'm not sure what question you were answering there, but I just come in and see what you guys are saying. They have used this technology to scan already known underground structures, and it was found to work. Oh, are you talking about the Giza thing? They have used this technology. Yeah, you're talking about the same group of people, I believe, right? Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's finish up here. I've got, I think, 2 more, because the next 3 are all the same thing. I just couldn't find one good site that had all the best pictures. But this is from India, in the area called Kerala. They found 110 megaliths there, or probably more. I think more than 110 megaliths there. Megalithic structures have been discovered in Kerala by the Archaeological Survey of India, and they've shared some pictures here online of these megaliths, and it's from the megalithic period. And you might say, wait a minute, megalithic period? In India, there is a period called the megalithic period, okay, in their Iron Age, and so there actually is a megalithic period, and it's called that because they were using megaliths, okay? So yeah, but here's one site that talks about it, and then there's some more pictures over here from the New Indian Express. You can see an overhead shot here. By the way, there's also some finds found at Odisha as well. This is from, I think, a little bit later time, but some Buddhist shrines from Odisha were found. But then here's some more on the megaliths here and Odisha. And this is a good site because it's telling you exactly, what these megaliths are all about, what kind of graves that they are around, and where they've been found in other spots, and also the significance of the Odisha finds, so you can check that out. And then finally, I have a new Roman settlement was discovered. So this is in Bulgaria, a Roman settlement, and never known before. It wasn't that big, but here you can see where they're excavating it. Okay, it's on a road. It was on a Roman road, or along a Roman road, that ran between the Balkans and Constantinople. And it dates to the late Roman period. And they found there pottery, building remains, ancient coins, and so forth. And here you can see the Roman road going to Constantinople. Does it have the site on here? I don't see. I think that's just a generic map. And here you can see some more of the remains of the buildings that were found. Whenever you see an archaeological site, okay, so you don't get confused, you see these squares? Those squares are created by the archaeologists. These are the excavation pits. That's how they do it. They do excavation pits like that. So those are created by the archaeologists. What's underneath them are the walls. Okay, they're going kind of diagonally. Those are the walls of the ancient buildings. Just let you know. The most recent coins date to 249 AD, suggesting that the settlement may have been abandoned shortly thereafter, possibly due to the barbarian invasions that ravaged the province of Thrace at that time. Here's some of the coins. Yeah. Well, folks, I'm all talked out. Looks like you guys are still having fun talking about the SAR scans, and you can continue to talk about them if you like. I certainly enjoyed sharing with you the archaeology news. I hope you liked it, and I will update you again next month about the finds from April. But before I do that, 2 weeks from now, I'll have another live stream because you made the super chat goal, and I will talk about what's going on social media with regard to ancient history. So I hope you like that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't see the whole thing, you can always go back and watch the beginning. But thank you. After I get off here, I will put the links to all the sites I showed you. So thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next time.